Hi everybody, this is Gina Thorson, president of Stormy Chroma, and I am today doing another one of our employee conversations, but this one is a little different and more fun for me because this is my sister. This is KJ, and she's my younger sister, but she's worked here longer than me, so she's a little bit more to share. So we're gonna chat today and hear about her story and also a little bit about what it was like for us to grow up in a family-owned sewing business. So, KJ,
Yes, ma'am.
let's start with how long you've worked here and what you currently do.
I have worked here for almost 23 years, 22 going on 23. Like Gina said, I started here right out of college, and my current role is head of purchasing. So I do all the buying and sourcing and importing and all that kind of stuff.
So that's your current job.
Current job.
You've done lots of jobs.
A couple different
Can you give
ones.
us the brief
Yes.
overview of your journey here?
Sure. So when I started at the bottom in production and helping out a little bit in the offices, doing some billing and some basic stuff like that. And then I've also done HR and done a lot of work in production and scheduling and that kind of thing. And then when we had our large pet customer that required a lot of attention, I started working in that department mainly as customer service. So I was the main customer service contact for them and learned a lot about dealing with customers and how to handle that. And then I grew into doing some design and creating some products for that pet line. So that was the job I had the longest, where I was kind of in charge of the pet division that we had, and I would go down and design a line and present it to the customer. And then I went back into operations to help with some of the new lines that got set up, and then back to purchasing where we just talked about. So lots of different jobs within the company, but learned a ton at each one and learned lots of stuff that I would not have learned in college. So the hands-on experience was great for me.
And you've clearly been someone who's willing to do whatever is needed of you. So that's another reason why I think you've moved around a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Whatever the company needs, you've figured it out.
We'll figure it out.
Stormy Chroma has only been in our sewing factory since 2001. So before that, we've been in business since 1958. So before that, we did all kinds of different sewing contracts, and we still do some sewing contracts besides Stormy Chroma, even though today we're mostly Stormy Chroma. But KJ mentioned some pet products. So we used to do a lot of pet beds and other things that we manufactured for a large company. But KJ talked about that when she worked here, like as a grown-up. But KJ has some childhood history with our dog bed production. Do you want to share that story?
So when I was little, I did not like to sleep in my bed. And so I would sleep in weird places. And that was about the time where this large pet supply company contacted our dad and said, could you make dog beds for us? And he, at that time, really needed to research the filling and the fiber, and he didn't know what kind we were going to buy, what kind would be best quality. So he was getting lots of different samples, and he wanted something that if the dog laid on the bed, it would poof up right away. And, so he was doing all this research, and he's like, well, how do I test, the comeback of the fiber? And, he's like, well, I've got a daughter that doesn't like to sleep in her bed. So Dad made me a 54-inch round navy blue dog bed, and I slept on it for 6 months. And every morning, when I would get up, he would measure the bed to see how much it had, deflated or come back, and, just to do different testing on it. And then it was a navy blue bed, and one day he went in there and there were like these little white specks on it, and he thought, oh boy, is the fabric that I picked, is it fading or bleeding? The dye's coming off, so to speak. But no, the white spots were because I was drooling in my sleep, and those were little toothpaste bits. So the fabric was fine, but I was the first dog bed tester for the company. So I really got tied into that whole pet division, and it's just like, it's coming full circle, so it seemed appropriate. So
right. I think, that story, for any of you out there who, own a business as a family or have a family business, like, that the lines between family and business and life get real blurry. And in our house, it was a huge part of our life, and was talked about at the dinner table. And KJ and I spent, our dad always worked Saturdays, half day. And usually on those days, we kind of hung out with him at the shop. We had at the time, it was a kind of just a small storefront shop, but we would hang out there. But there's a picture of us sitting outside of the storefront. Do you want to share what that photo is? And we'll show it here in the video.
I think that was Crazy Days, wasn't it?
That was Crazy
Okay,
Days.
so back when our town, was more populated, there was a once a year, I think, was it once a year?
I think once in the
There were
summer.
it was called the Crazy Days, and basically all the downtown retailers would have big sales. So the sales were crazy.
Kind of like sidewalk sale.
Sidewalk sale, yeah. And so there's a picture of Gina and I with one of those really old cash registers.
With the push buttons.
Right, with the push buttons, and there's this table of, I think it was stuff we were trying to get rid of, but like, Gina's there and I'm there, like, and I'm, rocking some pretty cool wristbands, I do want to say, in that video, or that picture. I'm, pretty proud of those, but it was a big deal, and it was fun because we got to kind of, be the face for the company,
right.
And it was, Crazy Days, that was awesome. That picture, I can remember that day, so it's cool because I get transported every time I see it, so.
Yeah.
That was Crazy Days.
I know there's another story from our childhood that you want to share that is one of like the coolest things you got to do as a kid, or that we got to do as a kid, that was related to the business. Do you want to share that story?
Sure. So long before Kromer and all those kind of things, we were a custom kind of canvas shop, and our dad, being a craftsman, he decided he was going to do something for the local school. So he kind of designed a duffel bag, basically with, 2 round circles and a regular, on each end, and just kind of an overnight, a duffel bag.
Right, and it had the school mascots on the end.
Yeah.
So all the local schools, for a pretty big, like probably 40 miles around.
Yeah, there were like 6 or 8 different schools when there were more schools, and the circles on the end when we started, they were leather that were screen printed, and then it was just kind of a heavy duty canvas.
Yep.
And it was a big deal, and I always loved being around town and seeing one of them. And being proud that my dad made those and whatever. But when we were kids, it was the bicentennial, or there's some type of parade, and celebrating Michigan and the town and everything. And so our dad, who can build anything and create anything, he made this huge duffel bag that was basically a huge float. And in Ironwood, Michigan, back in like my dad's younger days, he went to Ironwood Catholic, and there's Ironwood High School, and was Ironwood Catholic. It doesn't exist anymore. So he made this giant duffel bag, and one half of it was Ironwood Catholic, and the other half was Ironwood High School. And I don't know how big you would say
it's
it
tall.
is.
Like it was big, like probably 15 feet tall, big. And
So,
it was a float for this parade for this bicentennial or whatever it was of the town.
right. So if you picture this bag as a float going down the road, the zipper would be across the top, like on a duffel bag. So there were, support beams and everything inside of it to hold it up. But then there was also like this wooden plank, and Gina and I sat on this wooden plank during the parade, and we rode through the parade. So we were kind of sitting in the zipper spot,
Waving and
throwing out
throwing
candy. And we had walkie-talkies, talking to Mom and Dad, because they were in the car pulling it. And it was, that was the first time I really understood, or I guess could see, like, this is the kind of stuff Dad can create.
Yeah.
And there's a ton other stories like that about him, but being able to ride around in that float that my dad built, and it was awesome. That was awesome.
So those are some past stories, which are great, and the kind of legacy that we have. But let's get back to Stormy Chroma.
Yeah.
So now that you're director of purchasing, that means you are involved with Stormy Chroma. All these hats behind us, you're making sure we have the wool and the binding and the string and
everything,
the lining and all of that stuff. So tell us what how you feel about working on Stormy Chroma now, and kind of maybe where you see Stormy Chroma going.
Sure. So like Gina said, I really, up until taking on this purchasing role, didn't have a lot of interaction with the Kromer department. I was really more handling everything non-Kromer.
Right.
And so, sometimes that was kind of a bummer, because it was like, oh, there's this cool stuff happening with Kromer and I want to be a part of it. And so when the purchasing job ended up opening up, it really got me to, really learn more about the Kromer brand, and as far as design and, making great relationships with our vendors and stuff. And it's really been fun doing it because, I like negotiating, and I like, having different, suppliers and stuff to count on. And you would be very surprised how many different items I have to make sure we have in stock just to make one hat. There's 3 or 4 different kinds of material, the visor, the bobbins, the thread, the label, and I could go on and on. So it was definitely a little bit overwhelming at first. But now it's just to the point where it's fun, and it's, to be a part of, the start of a Kromer product. It's my job to get it here and get it on time. And, I think as far as where it's going, with Jamie, our great new designer, we've been able to source some really cool new fabrics and different technologies that I think is really exciting. And as I'm, looking for new relationships with vendors and finding new things, I'm really excited to keep expanding the brand. So it's more than just the red, black, plaid wool, and so it's fun to be a part of it and help everybody make this great stuff.
So I say a lot that working here is kind of like working in a big family. And
yeah, for sure.
Some of the folks that work here have known us since we were little kids.
Indeed. Yes.
So from your perspective, what can you share about the culture of our company?
Well, like you said, we remember when it was just a few people, and because of that, we always had close relationships or knew those people, everybody really well. So I think when it was a small company, 10 or less, and we knew everybody and had relationships with all of them, it was just like, that's what we do. And everybody here is family, even if it's 200 employees, like it is all family. And it's not just about you're the sewer and, you just make the hats. It's, I want to know about that person, and we would have nothing if we didn't have such great employees. And it's always been important for us to have a place where people are proud to work here. And I think with the pride that comes with making Kromer products, I think that helps morale quite a bit. But it's we don't think of it as our family's brand. It's extended family, like that's what we are here. It's a big family, because without our employees, we don't have anything. And it's fun to have such great employees that we can count on, and in a crisis they're here. And it's just we are all a big family, and it's it's not our business. It's everyone's a part of it. And I think that's what makes it feel the way it does. Yeah. Because we love the company, and we're everybody's proud to work here, and Kromer is an awesome thing to be a part of. So I think we're really happy with the great team that we have.
For sure. This has been really fun to talk with you. Is there anything, last parting words you want to give to our listeners and our viewers?
Yes, because I'm sure people are going to say, yes, we are sisters, even though we look nothing alike. A lot of people say that you're not even sisters. And Gina and I are very different personality-wise. And, sometimes we get the question like, what's it like working in your family? It's like, we are so different that what I'm bad at, she's good at, and vice versa. So like, a lot of people assume there's tension and stuff. No, it's just easy because we're just different. But yeah. A lot of people tell us that we're not related because there's no way, because we don't look alike. So just want to make that clear that, she looks like mom, I look like dad. So, but we are really sisters, I promise.
Yep. It's great working with you, KJ. Yeah, I love it.
Awesome.
It's fun.
Same here.
And it's fun for us to be, the third generation in our family, taking this company forward, and, trying to make sure that it's going to be here for the long haul. So it's a blast doing it with another sibling, and I'm eternally grateful for that. So thanks everybody for watching, and stay tuned for more employee conversations coming soon. Thanks.